the ceiling, in the killing, in the feeling, it's in the ceiling. Oh, what a feeling. I said 10 times 10, catch my light through the lens. Take your girl and all her friends. I'm gonna see your bands. Outside and we want revenge. Counting up, then I threw my dance. Sipping that shot down. Oh, what a feeling. I stack 10 times 10. I just wanna see another band. I here sticking to the plan. She entertained all the Zans. Those are sliding in the land. All in pink, killer can. This is my montage.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Spartan Wrestler. I'm just here from Jason Casper's trading Discord, and I just decided to make a quick little update what I'm really looking at and what areas would really entice me moving forward with Bitcoin. All right, so let's get into this. So let me share my screen for you guys so you guys can see. There we go. And then let me turn this music off. I'll put it on 1. There we go. All right, so guys, we have this big old range, that we've been looking at for the past, I would say, almost 500 days, 434 days. All right. So we've been dealing with this for the past year and some change, and now we're getting to the point where it's like, how much longer are you going to trade within this area? If you look back in time, we do have long ranges. But eventually, once you start getting over the year mark, you start kind of, this one's 476. This range down here was 300 days, give or take. Once you start getting around that year mark, that's when you start to see things kind of happen. So for the most part, man, we've just been kind of ranging in here. I haven't been really freaking out yet. I don't think most of us have been freaking out yet. But there are kind of things, warning shots kind of fired about where we're headed. All right. I'm not really going to talk much about market structure today. I'm just really going to talk about volume, the levels that I'm looking at, and how you can prepare yourself for things happening. So the first thing I like to do, man, I like to see a volume standpoint of what we're doing around here. And when I say volume, I'm not talking about this. I'm not talking about that stuff down there. I'm talking about an anchored volume profile or a fixed range volume profile. Both do the same exact thing. There's a reason why I like the anchor profile. It gives me a macro look at the market, and it's on my right side. So I can show you guys right now with the anchor profile. All you do is select where you want the profile to start from, and then it would include everything to the right. All right, so if I click it down at this low here, you see it gives me the volume from this point where it is all the way around. So all this stuff. All right, so right here I can kind of start taking levels, all right, and areas of interest. All right, so what I like to do, I'll get a horizontal ray, and I'll start drawing levels around where price currently is. Sure, we have levels down here. Sure, we have levels way up here. All right. I'm not concerned about that as much as I am concerned about as these levels right here. All right. And we'll draw this last one down at 84.1. All right. And as you guys can see, man, at each of these nodes, all right, so there's two different types of nodes. We got high volume nodes, and then we got low volume nodes. All right, and it's pretty intuitive. High volume means that there's a lot of volume. There's been a lot of trading within that area. All right, low volume means that, even if there was a lot of trading within that area, it was not the volume didn't come. All right, so what forms is this thing right here, which is called an imbalance, or the overall thing is called a low volume node. They're synonymous. Imbalance, low volume node. Kind of like an imbalance on a candle and a fair value gap, the same exact thing. All right. So what I look for when I'm trading and certain levels I'm looking to long or short, I look for areas of imbalance that are looked to get filled. All right. So before this all happened, we had, and I'm going to show you because I'm going to break down this range too. All right. But before this range form, let me see if I can take this back in time. I might not be able to. Let me see. Hopefully it gives me the volume profile. Let me draw another one from over there. Okay. Boom. No, it won't let me do it. So what I'm going to do is just use a fixed range volume profile, which you have to start and move over. And let's see if this one works. And I'll do this on get us out of this. All right. Hold on, leave. Perfect. So now this volume profile only represents from the start where I pulled it up until this point right here where I pulled it to. All right. So it's not including this. So once we started breaking below this big old high volume node, all right, where I was looking for was this imbalance to start getting filled. All right, this was a strong area because we had volume here, we had volume up around here, and when you start seeing areas like that, that's typically, and I'll draw my white phoenix lips, as he calls them. Boom, say you have that imbalance there, you typically do something like that. You range within there because you're filling an imbalance. All right, that's literally an area that the market has left behind, and people wanted to trade it but weren't able to get in because we either moved away too quick or it was a time of low liquidity and nobody wanted to trade. So as you see, that's exactly what we did, guys. So I'm gonna draw a rectangle to show you guys from here down to here. All right, where has price been hanging out for the past 60 days? 70 days, 60 days, 68 days. Where has price been hanging out? Within that imbalance. All right. You're going to get in those areas. And yes, it's not going to be perfect all the time, but you are going to bounce within those areas. And what you can see is when we came down initially, we purged out the liquidity from this node. So all that volume in there represents traders. All right. We purged out that. And then we decided to come back up for the highs. All right, the high volume node above us. Now, why would they do that? Because you have people, it's showing you there's volume within here. You have people who shorted this area on this break because you know what they said? They said, hey, we got our POC right here. We got our POC. We lost the POC. It's time to short because there's some strategies and there's different ways of looking at the market in certain contexts where if you lose a POC of a range, that's a bad thing. All right. And I'm not talking about these little wicks and then coming up. I'm talking about a break, retest, and going down. All right, so if I drop down to the 12, you see that's exactly what we had. We had a break, a retest, and then people shorted within that area. So that is an area of high volume. That is an area of liquidity. People's stop losses are all around there. Above these highs, you know, just like me or anybody else when we first started, or even to this day, freaking they keep their stop loss above the previous high. So that represents liquidity. Markets usually magnetize towards liquidity, and that's exactly what happened here. It shows you we have volume here. There's liquidity resting around this level. So what are we going to do? We're going to grab that liquidity, and now we're going to head to the next liquidity spot. All right, there's two choices to go to. You can start taking out the liquidity from these lows, or you can take out the liquidity from these highs. All right. So unless we break underneath a volume level, a high volume node, and retest it, I take the assumption of we're coming back up to continue filling this imbalance. All right. So I already have that snapshot and that context on a larger macro scale about where we are and what possible moves we can see. And you can see it doesn't just have to happen on the high macro timeframes. Each one of these little nodes in here got traded within. acted as support and resistance. I can show you down here. What happened? Sorry. What happened? We came down, came back up. Where did we reject from? Oh, look, there's a node there. Boom, we rejected from there. Hey, where did we bounce from? There's a node there. We come back up. All right, we dipped a little higher. We tagged into this volume. It wasn't completely perfect, but hey, when we broke back underneath, what was right here? The node. Again, we broke underneath here, found resistance. Where do we find resistance? At the node. So you see how even on the macro, you have this giant imbalance where we're going to fix. It's going to fix these mini imbalances too. So now we can move down a little bit to the smaller time frames. Oh no. Let me get rid of this and this. All right. And now I can drop this down. So I'll draw a volume profile from this, which is right outside the range, all the way over. All right. The range is this. I'm considering this. This is pretty much the range. All right. So now you can see, all right, where do some of these volume profiles or these volume levels line up with the immediate short-term level? And you can see that a lot of these pretty much, this one's probably $100 off of the main one right there. This one is pretty much right on the money, and this one's pretty much right on the money. But if you look before we started filling this, look what we had. We had a big old imbalance here. What happened? We purged that liquidity, come back up, fill the imbalance. Where did we find support before we moved up? At this volume node. And again, guys, this is why I like saying that I like doing the TA, I like presenting the charts, because unless you know what you're really doing once you get into these levels, you could get chopped up around here. All right, you have to make sure that you're securing your stops and all of that in the proper place where you can maintain being in the trade and riding it up to the target, which would be the next volume node. That would be my main target. That would technically be TP2, and I might get into it. My TP1 is usually at the low volume nodes, depending on where I get in. If I get in on a break here, we're already past the low volume node. You know what I mean? And honestly, these trades, unless you have super tight stop losses, they're kind of tough to navigate because it's like a 1-to-1, a 1-to-2 where you have to put your stop. So I try to make sure I'm entering within the node so I can ride that whole move up to the next node. All right. So now what am I looking at? Moving forward, what have we seen? What have we seen, guys? All right. We did see a purge of liquidity here. And where did we tag into? We tagged into the 87.5 low. All right. So my next thought, there's one or two things are going to happen, up or down. You know, that's really the only choices. You only have two buttons on your trading platform. You have long or short, up or down. All right. So what I could possibly see is a push up to these highs, sweep out the liquidity, head back down. All right, I could definitely see that. That's one. What's my next one? I could see us push up to the highs, retest. Now we start making our way up to where? This high. All right, those are two of my, if we go up from here, those are two of my scenarios. Now, what if we go down from here? All right, from where we are right now, I could see us come here, breaking it, retesting it, off to this next node. Or I could see a purge, back up, retest, back up to the next node. So there's a couple different options. So either what we're going to do is just continue to range within here, ping-ponging off of these two nodes that we're in between right now, or we're going to break, retest, and head up to the next area of liquidity. All right, there's a couple other things I see, looking at the candlestick patterns that we have inefficiencies throughout here, but this is only based on volume. Only based on volume, guys. So these are really the four plays that I'm looking to get in now. We're sitting in the middle of a node. I wouldn't like to enter right here. The risk to reward, in my opinion, wouldn't be great. Wouldn't be amazing. All right. So let's start scooting down on the lower time frames and kind of see what we've been seeing throughout this whole move. All right. Hold on. Let me go to an hour. Boom. Let me stretch this back across. All right. So now what you can kind of see, now that we've zoomed in, it gets a little bit more complex. Let me take off the POC and the developing POC. All right. Now you see that there's a couple more areas of interest that we can look at. And what that means is that there's more imbalances within here. When there's a clear protrusion showing, that's a high volume node. Usually there's an imbalance somewhere above or below it. And that's what we have. Look, right here. We have a high volume node. What's above it? An imbalance. So we can move that over here. We have another spot, another data point to look. What do we have here? Same high volume node. What's below us? Oh crap, another imbalance. So what ends an imbalance? A high volume node. We got that area there. All right, anything else that we're missing? I think that's all the protrude, and this one right up here. Boom. All right, so now I have a little bit more lines on here, but now I can kind of look at this and see, oh, okay, where can I start finding support and resistance, this and that, and in all of these levels. All right, so what we see now is this move that I just erased isn't a straight up. It can't be a straight up. We have massive resistance or volume around this level at 9130 or something like that. All right, so now what our goal would be, instead of just breaking up, now our goal would be breaking above this, retesting it, taking it up to the next node. Then if it makes it above the next node, we look for something like that. Or say we come up, we retest it, we come here, get rejected, head down. All right, but now you have to keep in mind that along these areas where there's known volume, all right, especially within this range, because where did I pull this from? I pulled this from the range that we're dealing in. That's coming from this volume profile that's only highlighting this. So now I know this is the immediate range, and what I look to see is these things to start getting filled. All of these areas to start getting filled. I think all of them are going to be tradable once we get to those levels. All right. But the biggest thing is you got to look for the break and retest, man. I think the confirmations, yeah, sure, you get these perfect to the dollar touches. But if you drop down, it's not just a bang. Look what happened. I'll show you. And guys, you saw I didn't look at that low when I drew that. I just went. So what happened? Found support, came, purged the liquidity, came back up, retested it to the dollar on that. But that's what I want to see. I want to see a purge, a breakup, a retest. This is the entry area. You can enter within here, or you can enter on the break. All right, those are usually two good signs. All right, this one is a little bit more conservative, but especially after a long dump, you don't want to take the super risky moves. You're scared. You just watch your buddies get liquidated. And you can also see, guys, like this one that I just drew. Look how this has been acting as resistance. Again, you don't get the perfect touches. You really don't. But you do get the areas where we start following, or what's it called, start finding a slowdown in this pump. This pump came to a halt once we came into the area of volume. And where is that area of volume on the higher time frames, or on the volume profile? I'll show you right now. Let me go up to the 1 hour so you can see it. Where did we find the rejection at? Oh, this big old node right here. The main reason I said I wanted to take the POC off, all right, was because if you notice, this node, and this node are very close together. I have a strong feeling that if we keep coming up here and ranging in here, this POC is going to shift down. And I have a strong feeling if we come back to this node down here and we start kind of trading, doing what we did during Christmas break, I think that we can pull the POC down even further. All right. But what I would like to see, in all honesty, is this get filled. Remember, we want to see a beautiful, like, D shape. All right. A perfect distribution curve. It's not always going to be smooth and perfect. There's going to be little imbalances throughout, but for the most part, a good solid distribution curve. This, I have one node here and one node here. And within this top one node, I have two nodes. All right, so these areas are still primed to get filled. I would like to see a pushback down to the 87 area. I really would, and I would like to take this stuff out. That my overall bias, I didn't think, honestly, and I have tons of videos where you heard me said that if we come down to 87.4, we were going to sweep this, and we didn't. We just tapped on it, got above, retested like I showed you, and just moved back up to the node. All right, but it makes sense. It does make sense because look what happened. We're filling this node. We're literally ping-ponging between this one and this one. All right, so that's typically what I look for. That's the more macro and super lower time frame stuff. Not lower time frame, but smaller range based volume analysis that I do. I think it's great if you use these volume profiles, guys, the anchor volume profile and the fixed range volume profiles are cool. I like having them on both sides because look, I have my macro volume profile and then I have the immediate range volume profile all right within this price action. So I don't really get lost in the sauce. I'm like, okay, I have a low volume node, and this is my mentality. I have a low volume node on the macro right here. This is the lowest place. But I have a node here. So that's an interesting area for me. All right. Why is it an interesting area? It's a low volume node. Yeah, it's a low volume node that has a high volume within the local. So we're going to want to go up to this area to fill it because what did I say earlier? Price likes to go to areas of imbalances. But we're going to find resistance because there's a high volume node within this range. All right. So it acts as a magnet because there's no volume on the macro, there's low volume, but in the immediate range, it will act as a magnet still, but will show to have resistance because there's set amount of volume at this area. All right, within this range. I know it gets kind of lost in the weeds, but I definitely think that having both the macro and the short time view, it's good to see these kind of inconsistencies. Why I say inconsistency? Because we have volume here where there's no volume there. Why is this not an inconsistency? This is the POC of the range, and guess what? It's a high volume node here. This matches up. This is another one that doesn't really match up, this node down that we're actually rejecting from. All right, and that's why it's important to have the higher time frame or the larger range stuff and the lower range stuff, because if you would have just been marking out these levels, you would have completely missed this one. That one, what you guys saw how I drew this out at the beginning, my macro lines, I didn't have that line. That line was only drawn after I pulled this fixed volume range. All right, so it's nice to see the inconsistencies within the larger range volume and the immediate range volume. And that's an area that you can kind of pinpoint and be like, okay, there's a good chance we might go up to fill that. That looks weird. That looks off. Just like these big fat volume candles or these imbalances or fair value gaps or whatever you call them. All right, those act as magnets because it looks weird. It likes to get fixed. Bitcoin likes to fix what it leaves behind. All right. So guys, listen, I wanted to make this really short. How long have I been going? Been going about 25 minutes. I'm going to cut it pretty much now, guys. If you guys have any questions or comments, I will be in the VIP, guys. Just tag me. You know, I'm a full-time school teacher also. So I'll answer you when I get back to you, but hopefully I can help you out. Hopefully you guys use these volume profiles, guys. I really hope so. The anchor volume profile and the fixed range volume profiles are both public indicators set on TradingView. You don't have to pay any money, and it's completely free. All right. So, guys, check us out. Me and Thor do our streams Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's called The Journey. Check out White Phoenix. He does the Asia Open throughout the week. You got Boyan, who does the London Open. He does altcoin streams. And then you got the man, the GOAT, the legend, Jay Casper, who does his VIP daily streams and his regular YouTube daily streams. If you guys have any questions or concerns, like I said, hit me up, tag me in the Discord, and I'll try to answer you guys back as quick as possible. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great one, and God bless. Take it easy. Peace.